a show at Pablo Center at the Confluence on April 17th. That's a Wednesday in the Jam Theater at Pablo Center. It's the Interstellar Sky Guitar Tour, 7:30 p.m. that evening. This is, I don't want to say one of the more unique, because unique is either you're unique or you're not. So maybe I'm going to say this is unique, a unique concert. Given most times it's, all right, we're just going to come out and perform, or maybe we'll do a little bit of discuss. There's a lot going on with this show. I'm going to start with the book. In Search of the Alpha Law, because you're going to be, as you say, it's kind of a little TED Talk about this. Where did you get the idea to do the book?
Oh, that goes back a long, long time, even, in my early 20s, I started to develop as a closet philosopher, I guess. I started to ask these deep questions that some people tend to ask and most people find quite boring. But a lot of it had to do with music and the meaning of music, or, why I was fascinated, why certain notes of certain chord structures kind of had the effect on us emotionally that they did, and I found that, I found the laws of music fascinating and tried to understand them on a deeper level. And more I began to realize that the laws of music are very much the same that govern us, that we are tuned in the same way, And so the book is a lot about the way I see life, looking at the world through musical eyes, which may sound a little cryptic, but once you get into it, it could be quite fascinating. So I wrote the book, which is huge. It's a 600-page tome, coffee table format, and with 1,000-page pictures and illustrations. I wrote that during lockdown. We had a world tour booked with a one-man solo show at that time. Started the tour in Europe, and we had 70 shows booked for North America. But after 13 shows, it got cut short. We had to stop because, all the governments were shutting down all the public spaces, and that was that. 3 years of not touring, and then when it finally came to do an American tour again, we thought it might be a great idea to not only bring the solo show, but also come back and bring my entire band with me. So that's why this concert is really two concerts on one evening. So I'm doing my solo show, which is called An Evening with Uli Jon Roth, first, and that includes the TED Talk about my book. And then after an intermission, we're doing a full-blown rock set, which is with my band, which is dedicated to my earlier material from the Scorpions and Electric Sun, and also includes some Jimi Hendrix. And the music couldn't be any more different in the first half to the second, because in the first half, I'm, as I said, alone on stage. I've got a huge screen behind me. There's an orchestra on the screen. I'm playing some Vivaldi's Four Seasons on my Sky guitar and some Mozart pieces. Also, several new pieces which I wrote for this occasion, and including some flamenco on a 9-string guitar. And then the second half is, basically traditional classic rock. So it's quite a colorful evening.
For sure. How have you maybe observed how, when one connects more with music, how that can be life changing. I've seen with even when I was in music education classes in college, and we would have a student that ostensibly couldn't sing, and you could bring it out of them at a certain point. Like it's there in some capacity. There are different talent levels, but there's something there. So from your perspective, how does a person's life, their attitude, their perspective, anything, however you term it, change with a deeper appreciation of the broadest term of music?
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting question you're asking, and it goes right to the heart of things. That's what I'm talking about in the book and talking about at my Sky Academy seminars. I see music as a gateway, a potential gateway, an extremely strong gateway to our inner self. But a lot of people, even a lot of musicians, I find, have rather superficial way of connecting with music. And don't get this in the wrong way. I don't mean this in any way derogatory. What I mean by it is that I found that one can delve deeper and deeper and deeper into music. And if one does that and allow that to happen, then it does actually change you and it can heal you. It's an incredibly powerful force. But it's not maybe something that people would naturally gravitate to, because it means you need to open your mind in a different way and actually allow it to happen, and maybe actively also pursue that. What I mean by that, to just give you an example, is that even a single note, I'm standing here right next to my piano, actually, like an A, even a single note, if you're going deep into it, this doesn't sound like much, but if you amplify it, if you delve deep into the center of the note and let your entire mind and body be filled with that sound, you may start to experience amazing things. You will see that every one of the 12 notes has a completely different feeling. They sound kind of the same on the surface, but they're not. They're actually completely different. Each one has a different color, a different sensation. They even have a different taste. Some are salty, some are bitter, some are sweet. Some evoke a color of red, the other are blue, green. All these things are in the music, in the heart of the music, and in fact, that's before the music starts, because music is, of course, the whole journey, the whole picture. But this is the most fundamental level, the single note, and that's where it starts, from one single note. And that note, that we call it the root note, then has all the other notes around it, and a melody progresses like a journey from A to B. It's like, a journey. And if we're really in tune with it, personally, as a person, if we allow that to happen, our mind, our heart, our spirit goes on that journey with the music. We become the music. We can experience amazing things,
Mm-hmm.
So
this marks 4 decades also of the Sky guitar. Not to be too reductive of the concept of music down to literally an instrument, one instrument, but the Sky guitar is a different instrument compared to the typical guitar that almost everyone else has played.
Yeah, it really is. Yes. Yeah.
So how would you what essence comes out of that guitar, having played this now for as long as you have? How could you describe, if it's possible to describe, how that instrument can bring out all of those elements versus a 6-string guitar, for example?
No, a standard traditional guitar can do a lot, and almost all of it. The sky guitar, to me, has something which is different. Above all, it has a much greater range, a tonal range. What I mean by that is, like, a normal guitar will have this as the lowest note, and this as the highest note. We're talking like a 3.5 octave range. Now the sky guitar has a much greater range. It can play as high as a violin. It can play as low as a cello, particularly the 7-string version. And that allows me to play these classical violin concertos, like the Vivaldi's Four Seasons, in exactly the right position, sounding correct. Because normally on a normal guitar, if I was to play one of these violin concertos, I would have to transpose them an octave down, and I think that really messes with the structure of the piece, and it's not a good idea. So the sky guitar basically enables me to do a lot more. It greatly enhances the scope of the instrument. And then tonally, we've made a lot of advances also. It's a very sophisticated guitar in terms of the pickup system. A special pickup system was developed to do justice to all this. It's got a lot of effects on board, and it's all singing, all dancing. It's a little bit like a Formula One racing car compared to a standard street car. But it has also the comfort of a nice limousine, Although, having said that, it is, you have to be a real player to play that thing. It's not that forgiving. Just like, a Formula One car wouldn't be so great in a village. You might run into trouble. Right. The sky guitar is best in a creative environment on stage, and I'm always playing it standing up, not sitting down. So it's like, it's a mindset. To me, it's a different thing. I feel different playing on the sky guitar than on a traditional guitar.
And you instruct on this as well. There's the master class that's happening.
I forgot about that. In the beginning of the evening, that means in the afternoon, in the same venue, we're having a guitar seminar where I'm basically giving a master class, and I'm playing several pieces which are not part of the evening. Pieces which are showcasing some of my more extreme arpeggio techniques, so to speak. And I'm explaining it in detail, and people can sign up for that on my website.
So, what do you enjoy about teaching and instructing guitar to others?
I don't know. I've always had a bit of the teacher in me. When I was 16 years old, I already had 30 students for classical guitar. While I was still going to high school. Afterwards, when I joined the Scorpions, I stopped that. I never gave any more guitar lessons. But my Sky Academy teaching is slightly different because it's how should I say? It's not just about guitar technique. It's more also about integrating all the other aspects that I just spoke about. Utilizing our mind, seeing our mind almost as an instrument. And if you do that in a in a quote-unquote right way, because there's also a wrong way, then you can become a much better player if you know how to, how to get the most out of your talent, out of your abilities, out of your mind. Yeah, that's these things. And that's what I enjoy teaching. I wouldn't necessarily just enjoy, pure technique, teaching pure technique. Although there's also something to be said for that, and it's also necessary.
If you were to look to another classical piece from any era, Baroque, Romantic, etc., what would it be beyond Vivaldi, beyond the Four Seasons? What would be another one?
I gravitate towards the Romantic era. I love the Brahms violin concerto. I've also played the Mendelssohn violin concerto, and I love Chopin. Music from that era. The Vivaldi, I just picked that because it was so absolutely unique in terms of musical, of what it represented. It never gets old. But I also love Bach's music. I've played a lot of that in the past. Beethoven, all the greats. I love it all. Some more than others. So yeah.
Do you find any of the songs in part 3? Any of the songs you are drawn towards more nowadays and decided to perform them on this particular tour compared to at any other point in your career, literally? Do you find songs growing on you, going back to Scorpions era songs, solo music, electric, any of that? Have you found an evolution?
Yeah, actually, absolutely. Every single one that we're playing has undergone a little bit of an evolution. And over the years, I think a lot of them have gotten better on stage. You find and very often it's just tiny little things that make a big difference, And I can tell in the reaction from the audience. I remember when we used to play in trance live with the Scorpions, the reaction of the audience usually wasn't that great. It was just like, one of many songs, Nowadays, when we play it, and also, and we play it in a pretty much picture perfect way, I have to say, with all, with hindsight and having learned the ropes with it, because every song has its own key. You need to find a way of doing it justice. But nowadays, the reaction usually is like as if we play a major anthem, People absolutely love it. We get a better reaction nowadays. And we did with the Scorpions back then. Because, I think we've learned how to present these songs in a very strong way. And regarding Electric Sun songs, I find that all the time when I'm going for one that I haven't played in a long time, and we will do a couple during this tour that haven't been there in a long time. Yes, completely new facets come out, and I'm not afraid to change the odd thing. If I think, why didn't I think of that, 30 years ago? Maybe even a different chord here or there, or a little edit. Sometimes these little things make a huge difference.
It's an interesting point you bring up about that, because I'll hear that when I interview artists it goes both ways. Some are constantly, to use the word again, evolving. There's an evolution in their music, and others say how we did it in the first place, that's the way, that's what the fans want, but that we're going to stay true to that. Where do you find...
I understand both ways. I don't want to cut you short, but I do. I understand both ways and I accept both ways. So for me, it's very important when I play something that the fans have loved to, over the years, to stay absolutely truthful to the spirit. I would never change a great melody, and I play it, as close to the original as possible. But a lot of these songs were kind of in the making back then, and there was room for improvement, even little room. And that's where I come up with the scissors, or where I add a little something here and there, So, and then people are very forgiving as long as all the most important ingredients are there, But I'm not one of these people who like to do it like note for note every night the same. That, to me, that's the kiss of death, because my mind doesn't work like that, and I fall into that category that you mentioned first, the constantly evolving. That's really, to me, the key to everything, to keeping it fresh as well. Mm-hmm. Constantly evolving. It's always a new something. Otherwise, you have, a song has a spirit, like we have a spirit, and the spirit is alive, and it's almost tangible. But a song, you can also play it as if it has a ghost, which is a departed spirit lost in the nether world, disembodied spirit. So some people actually do perform songs like, I would say, oh, that's the ghost of what the song once was, and that's not for me. I like to see and feel and present the spirit of the song, even if that involves changing it around a little.
Your last Electric Sun show, I saw, was Independence Day, July 4th, 1985, at Summerfest down in Milwaukee, and that stood out to me when
you were there?
Well, no, I wasn't. Well, okay, I was not there, but I was not that far away, and then that's the reason why it stood out to me, because I was a kid living up in the northern suburbs of Milwaukee, like 25 miles north in Grafton, Wisconsin at the time. But I remember that day distinctly. And
I do too.
Right.
Well, it was the last ever Electric Sun show. I completely remember.
When I saw that, I went, "Oh, hang on a second." And the reason I remember that day in particular, there was a big thunderstorm that came in that night. And I remember driving around that evening with my parents, and we're getting ready for, fireworks or whatever. But I remember
it was 4th of July.
4th of July. And there's like, hey, there's storms coming. Like, it's sunny. And then I can still picture it. And I took some photos that evening. I was like 7 years old at the time. But I was taking pictures of like the dark clouds coming in that evening. And we got this big thunderstorm that came through. And again, I'm like 25 miles north of Summerfest in downtown Milwaukee. And actually, my family did go to Summerfest that year. It was the one time I went as a kid when we lived down there during the day. It wasn't during the Electric Sun show. My first question's a mini one, but then I have a broader one. That show, was there a storm that came through later that night? Did you guys get rain coming through? Do you happen to remember that?
We did not. No, we did not. It was dry when we played, luckily.
Uh-huh.
I don't quite remember afterwards. I do remember it was 4th of July, and there were some restrictions going on. I remember it was recorded and by a radio show, and I remember that we played a few songs just a little bit on the fast side in the beginning. I think there was some time pressure there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So you might have beat the storm, or maybe it was just way up 25 miles north. Maybe it missed Milwaukee and you were lucky. But
I certainly didn't get wet. That's for sure.
That's good, especially with electricity. Could have been a problem. But bigger picture, and the last question for you. Evolving now 39 years from that, and I'll use that concert just as a jumping off point. How have you grown as a musician from, let's just say that show to today and coming to Eau Claire in the northern part of the state next month?
I like to think that I've grown a lot. I was always able to do certain things, and certain things came very easily. But being an explorer, a musical explorer by nature, and that process hasn't stopped. My scope has vastly increased, and and I think my output, the thing, I have not actually released a lot, but I've written a lot, and the quality of my writing, I think, also has improved. And my improvising has improved. In fact, I think I've never played better than I do now. The one thing that is not as good as it used to be is my physical stamina playing. I used to be able to play a long time, with full energy and concentration. Nowadays, my physical stamina is so that I need to take more naps, and so that's a given. So that's why before the show, you'll find me curled up in my bus in my room at the back, sleeping like like a squirrel or a cat. And that's very important, because if I don't do that, I can really tell the difference during the show. And that's different. In the olden days, I was like a tank. These things didn't matter. Nowadays, I have to take that a little bit more easy. I'm not, I don't feel invincible anymore.
But it's good. But regardless of the age and whatnot, the presentation will be good, and we know it will be on April 17th.
I hope so. We're putting everything into it that we can, and I'm taking these things very seriously. So we'll make. I've got a good team with me. Got a great band. So yeah, we'll make our best possible effort. That's for sure.
Well, it should be
also interesting. Eau Claire, I've never played there, and that's nice. I always enjoy playing new venues in new cities, and that's definitely a new one for me.
It's a beautiful place. The venue's been around since 2018. The city is really developed even further in the downtown. It's a really nice place. So you're going to enjoy it when you come on by.
How big is Eau Claire?
Eau Claire is about 70,000 people in the city itself. And there are a couple smaller cities right around us. So like the metro area is about 140,000. But it's kind of I used to say this derisively, and I don't really say it anymore because it's gotten a lot more artistic of late. It used to be like the biggest suburb in the middle of nowhere is how I would call it, because it kind of is, because then it gets rural, and then you get to the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul to the west.
Okay.
But it's definitely in the last 20, 25 years, something's really kind of built up in the city where it's still a great place to live, but there's more of a vibrancy that's come to Eau Claire as well.
It's got a beautiful name.
Yeah.
Clear water. So
it's really nice.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
You definitely will like it. So we're looking forward to the show. April 17th here in Eau Claire, Pablo Center of the Confluence in the Jamp Theater. Interstellar Sky Guitar, Uli Jon Roth. This has been a marvelous chat. I very much enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Enjoy your tour. Enjoy the stop in Eau Claire, and we'll see you down the road.